piece of barn board. Okay, let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I like to put a base of black underneath the white. So I'm just going to put on a generous coating of black chalk paint and just kind of spread it. Not quite all the way out to the edges. You kind of want to leave the bare wood along the edges, and it just kind of gives it that rustic, worn look. The first layer of black is completely dry, so now we're ready to put on our first coat of our white chalk paint. If you go back into my playlist, you'll see I just posted a couple weeks ago a recipe on how to make your own chalk paint, and this is what I'm using right now. It's simple and easy and 3 ingredients. So you're just going to liberally just paint over the black, again not going right to the edges because I like to leave that for a rustic look, and just do a big first coat. Okay, everything is really dry and we're ready to sand. I buy these big bags of sanding blocks on Amazon. I'll link them in my Amazon store below in the description. And I'm just going to give it a real good scrub. Just sanding everywhere. I want to make it as rustic looking as I can. I like to sand and distress it really well. I like to be able to see the black and the wood peek through the white paint in most parts of the board. It just gives it more of a weathered look. Okay, now we're ready to put on the graphics. I make all of my graphics with PicMonkey. It's a paid subscription, but I use it almost every day, and the possibilities are endless with it, so I really like it. And then after I've designed my graphics on PicMonkey, I put them into my Word program to size them to fit my board. Now you have to remember to reverse your text. If you don't reverse it, it won't work. And you can do that in either PicMonkey or in your Word program. You also have to use a laser jet printer. It will not work with an inkjet printer. There's just something with the difference of the ink in it that will not work with your Mod Podge or your medium transfer. Okay, now I'm just going to see where they look the best on the board, just kind of move them around a little bit, see what looks the most appealing, and then we'll be ready to put them on. As you can see, I'm having a hard time deciding where I want to put these, but I think I got it figured out now. Okay, I figured out where I want to put everything. I always like to grab my ruler and make sure you have it all centered on the board properly. There's been many times where I've put a sign together, spent the time, didn't take a ruler to make sure it was spaced properly, and then it was a disaster. One word was way over on one side and it wasn't in the center. So just take your time and do it properly and make sure you measure. Okay, now we're ready to get these on the board. I use a product from Art Deco called Deco Page. You can buy it on Amazon. I'll list it in a link below. But it's the same as Mod Podge. I just find this one's cheaper and it works just as well. So you just want to liberally coat each piece of your graphic. You don't want a whole bunch on. You just kind of want a light coat and just make sure you cover everything really well. And then flip it over and place it on your board. Okay, now we're ready for the last step. I have a little dish with a little rag in it with water, and you just want to gently rub on all the graphics. I just do one little piece of a graphic at a time and just wet it. You don't want it soaking wet, just wet enough that you can see the graphic kind of through the paper, and just rub away. This takes patience. You can't rush it. You just have to take your time and just lightly rub. You might need to add a little bit of water. The biggest trick is just not to wet it too much. Just dampen it just so you can see the lettering through the paper, and then rub with your fingertips until you see all the paper has been rubbed away. And don't worry if a little bit of the graphic rubs away. Sometimes that happens. I like the look of it. It just kind of makes it look more rustic. Okay, now we're ready to finish it off. I use a Varathane polyacrylic matte finish. I just like the look of the matte the best on the signs that I make, but you can use a gloss if that's the look that you're trying to achieve. And when this is going to be outside in my garden, so I'm going to put quite a bit of this sealer on it just so it'll weather well, and just liberally apply it all over. And there you go, a perfect garden tour sign that you can display in your garden all summer long.